Chapter 7 of Tractate Nedarim continues discussing the laws of vows in regards to particular vows against types of food. The first Mishnah says, if somebody vows to abstain from eating greens, he's allowed to still eat gourds, but Rabbi Akiva says he can't. It's disputed based on if when people say they're purchasing greens, whether that includes gourds or not. If the person vowed against partaking in fresh Egyptian beans, he's still allowed to eat dried ones. The Gemara says the vow against greens, which potentially included gourds, is as the vow was against greens that are cooked in a pot. The argument, if that includes gourds, is based on whether they hold if a man sends an agent to get vegetables, if the agent consults with the sender, if this includes gourds, whether or not this implies that gourds are included in this category or not. Rabbi Akiva does concede that if he eats gourds in this situation, he wouldn't receive lashes. It cites related cases. It further discusses particular food terminologies which encompass other similar types of foods. New Mishnah, somebody vows to abstain from piled grain. He also can't have dried Egyptian grain, which are piled in a similar manner. Others say he's only prohibited from the 5 species of grain. Others say one who vows to abstain from Tavua, which refers to the 5 grains, abstains only from the 5 grains. If somebody vows to abstain from the piled grain, he can't have anything that's similarly piled in a granary, but he can have fruit trees or grains. The Gemara argues if the term which refers to piled grain includes everything piled in a granary, and what the term tevua encompasses in regards to the 5 grains, which is a different term than tevua of the field. It brings relevant incidents. It also mentions the connotation of other similar terminology. New Mishnah, somebody vows to abstain from clothing. He can still wear sackcloth, a sheet, or a chamila, which is a type of coarse material. If somebody vowed against wearing wool, he can cover himself with wool shearings. If somebody vowed against wearing flax, he can still cover himself with stalks of flax. Other states dependent on the vower. For instance, if someone's carrying heavy stuff and he starts sweating and vows against wool and flax, he's allowed to wear them still. He's not allowed to carry such loads on his back. The Gemara lists many types of unique clothing included in a vow against wearing clothing. It discusses related points. New Mishnah, if somebody vows against entering a particular house, it's debated if he can still enter the upper story. If somebody vows against entering the upper story of a house, he's allowed to enter the lower story. The Gemara explains the source for these distinctions, which apply by particular laws of impurity, and as to what exactly is referenced by the term house in a house in regards to laws of sales. New Mishnah, somebody who vows to abstain from using a bed can still use a dargash, which is something similar to a bed. Others disagree, saying it would be forbidden to use. Someone who vows against using a dargash can still use a bed. The Gemara debates as to what exactly a dargash is. Some say it's a bed of fortune, which was a bed that some had the custom to designate for a guardian angel. Others disagree, describing it as a bed frame with leather tied within, which is described. Typically, a bed is meant to be overturned by a mourner, and it's held that by the leather mat bed, the holding straps can just be untied to fulfill this obligation. New Mishnah, somebody who vows against entering a city can enter the Tachon boundary, a concept from Tractate Eruvin, and he can enter its extension. Somebody who vows not to enter a house cannot enter from the doorframe inwards. The Gemara cites sources for these points. It debates whether by a vow against entering a house you can still enter from the doorframe outward. New Mishnah, if somebody vows that fruits will be forbidden to him or upon his mouth or to his mouth, he can't benefit from things in exchange for them or from things grown from them. If he vowed against fruits in regards to his eating or in regards to his tasting, he can eat or taste things received in exchange for them and things that grow from them. This applies if the produce's seeds decompose. If they don't, he can't benefit from things grown from them. Another point, if somebody vowed to his wife against the work of her hands or vows them against his mouth, he's forbidden to benefit from things received in exchange for them or that grow from them. If he vowed that her work should be forbidden to him eating or to him tasting, he's allowed to benefit from things received in exchange for them and things that grow from them. This applies if the seeds of the produce decompose. If they don't, things that grow from them is forbidden. If somebody vows against eating from things his wife makes until Passover, or vows against wearing what she makes until Passover, then if she makes something before Passover, he can eat or wear it after Passover. If he vows against eating or wearing things she makes until Passover, if the thing is made before Passover, he can't eat or wear it after Passover. If somebody vows against his wife benefiting from him until Passover, so long as she goes to her father's house before the holiday of Sukkot, if she went before Passover, she can't benefit from him until Passover. If she went after Passover, she's violated the vow. If he said to his wife, vowing against her benefiting from him, if she went to her father's house before Passover. If she went before Passover, she can't benefit from him until the holiday of Sukkot. She can, however, go to her father's house after Passover. The Gemara discusses similar points. These are further qualified. It discusses various points on laws of produce in the sabbatical year. It also goes through points on Truma tithes and similar. These are discussed further, and there are some additional points. And that's the end of Chapter 7. Chapter 8 of Tractate Nedarim continues discussing the laws of vows. The first Mishnah says, if somebody vows against tasting wine today, he's forbidden to have wine until nightfall. If somebody vows against wine for this week, he's forbidden wine from then to the rest of the week, including Shabbos. If somebody vows against wine this month, he's forbidden wine during the rest of the month, excluding the next Rosh Chodesh. If somebody vows against wine this year, it includes the rest of the year, but not the next Rosh Chodesh. If somebody vows against wine during this 7-year cycle until the sabbatical year, he's forbidden it the rest of the years until and including the coming sabbatical year. If somebody vowed against wine for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, or 1 7-year cycle, he's forbidden wine from that day until the day of the completion of this period. If somebody vows against wine until Passover, he's forbidden wine until Passover starts. If somebody vows against wine until it is Passover, he's forbidden wine until Passover ends. If somebody vows against wine until before Passover, it's debated whether or not this includes Passover. The Gemara says an opinion that regarding a vow against wine today, which ends at nightfall, he still needs to get the vow annulled at nightfall. This is because there's variation if he said the vow was for 1 day as opposed to today. So, to be safe, the vow must be annulled at nightfall. Such a mistake could be made from today to 1 day, but not vice versa. This is further discussed. It specifies that a vow for a week includes Shabbos, as you might have thought it's just weekdays. A vow against the month excludes even a 2-day Rosh Chodesh, meaning even the last day of a leap month is not included. If somebody vows against something for a day, it's debated if this is akin to a vow for 2 day or for 1 day. It's further debated from several sources. Further debate the remaining points. New Mishnah: if somebody vows against wine until the time of the grain reaping, until the grain harvest, or until the olive harvest, he can't drink wine until the start of that harvest. As a general rule, if somebody vows against something until a set time arrives, he can't do that thing until the set time starts. If he vows against the thing until it is the set time is included in this prohibition. If the specified event does not have a set time, whichever he said, the prohibition is only until the event arrives. For instance, if somebody made a vow until the fig harvest or until it is the fig harvest, the vow lasts until the fig harvest starts, meaning when people start gathering fruits in baskets. If the vow said until the fig harvest passes, the fig harvest ends when the harvesters start folding up their knives. The Gemara says it's in reference to baskets of figs specifically, not baskets of grapes, as they're picked by hand. Others say it includes grapes as they're picked by hand once their stems dry. With the knives being put away, that's if most of the townspeople put away their knives. It discusses incidents of this harvest and mentions a story where the sage Rav Tarfon was eating figs after the harvest and somebody saw him and decided to shove him into a sack and toss him into a river. So Rav Tarfon said who he was, and the man realized it was a great sage and ran off. Then for the rest of his life, Rav Tarfon regretted this as he had felt he had used the Torah for his personal benefit, which is a very wrong thing to do. It says the man tried to drown the sage as there had been a person stealing his grapes and he thought it was the sage. Rav Tarfon thought he should have just paid the guy money instead of using his title. It cites many more points on the impermissibility of using Torah to benefit yourself, and there are further related points. In Mishnah, if somebody vowed against an item until the grain harvest, it's forbidden until most people start the wheat harvest, not the barley one, although it's really dependent on the regional dialect. If he made this vow on a mountain or a valley, it goes dependent on the harvest time of that mountain or valley. If somebody vowed against an item until the rains or until it is the rains, he's forbidden until the second rainfall. Others say it's until the time of the second rainfall, meaning even if the rain hasn't yet fallen. If he vowed against an item until the rain ceases, some say the item is forbidden until the month of Nisan ends, some say it's until Passover ends. The Gemara says, if somebody made a vow against something until the harvest while in Galilee, and then moves somewhere else, the timing is still dependent on Galilee. If somebody said specifically until the coming of the rain, everyone agrees that refers to the time of the rain. Others dispute this, although it's said that that was a true statement. However, people do dispute it if he said until the coming of the rains, plural. New Mishnah. If somebody vowed against tasting wine for the year, and it was announced to make the year a leap year, he's forbidden wine during the year and the extra month of the leap year. If somebody vowed against wine until the beginning of the Hebrew month of Adar, and it was a leap year which adds a second month of Adar, his vow lasts until the end of the first month. If his vow was until the end of Adar, it lasts until the end of the first Adar. The Gemara says this implies that this was said by the opinion that holds the word Adar refers to the first month. Others disagree and say that this was like the opinion that says typically by documents Adar refers to the second Adar, assuming you know it's a leap year. Our case refers to where he doesn't know the year was extended, so it refers to the first month. It brings sources. New Mishnah. If somebody vows that he won't taste wine until Passover, he can have wine on the first night of Passover if the guy intended to have his vow go until the time when everybody drinks wine. If someone vowed to not taste meat until the fast, his vow lasts until the night of the fast, as that's when people eat meat. If somebody vows against tasting garlic until Shabbos, he can't eat garlic until Friday night, as the intent was for it to be until people eat garlic. If somebody vows against benefiting from somebody, if they don't take from him for his son 1 core of wheat and 2 barrels of wine, the vower can annul his vow without a sage, as the intent was to give the food to honor his friend, so he can refuse this gift to honor it further. If somebody vows against having his friend benefit from him unless he gives his son a core of wheat and 2 barrels of wine, some say the vow prohibits the man from benefiting from him until he gives over the food. Others say the vow can annul it without a sage, saying he could just say it as if he received the gift he demanded. If somebody was being pressured to marry a woman and he vowed against benefiting from her forever, or if somebody divorced his wife and vowed against her benefiting from him, these women can still benefit from him as he clearly meant marital benefit. If somebody was pressured into eating a meal with somebody and he vowed against entering his house or drinking a drop of cold water, he can still enter his house and drink his cold water, as his vow was only against eating or drinking by his friend in large quantities. And that's the end of chapter 8.